You can measure a great deal. And if you need very clear photography, you just use spy planes that are designed specifically to do that. It's very easy.
Radio towers don't have Doppler effect.
Yeah, and they can't
No Doppler
simulate
effect, like
an
the
object going
typical.
17,000 miles per hour.
What?
So you said no Doppler effect.
Right, I'm gonna have a 5-minute break.
5 minute break, everybody.
So
So,
Giordano, so narrative has been presented to you by the men in lab
What
code,
does Doppler
like
effect have to do with it?
how the satellites work and all that, and you learned it. Okay, I give you that you got a smart brain to remember things. Now they present you with an app that want to prove that they build it around to prove that point they presented to you. You just believe it and you just follow like a sheeple, follow the peer pressure, or what it is,
No, not at all.
or have you proven this by yourself?
No, no. See, when I first heard about this, like you guys did, I looked into it as well out of curiosity. But understanding the flat models and understandings, and then understanding, you can call it globe science or something, but it's really just regular science. Um, it's just more cemented in that way. It's not that I'm being indoctrinated. It's like last night.
Yeah,
I
you
wanted to look
trust on
more
the
in.
body of science. That's basically.
No, I mean things like
Yeah,
gravity
yeah.
make perfect sense. Things
No.
actually don't make
Yeah,
sense if you
things
don't.
can make sense to you in your science fiction imagination, but yeah, it's not proven.
So you just said
All assumptions are based in your imagining. So
The theory of gravity hasn't been proven the way it's stated, but gravity itself has been proven again and again and again.
no,
And the
when
planets.
you said
downward acceleration force has been proven again and again and again
How can
because
you
it's there.
Yeah,
How can you
don't talk
distinguish
about
gravity?
planets. Too theoretical.
How can you distinguish gravity against density?
Well, density is a property of mass, so it's not actually a force itself. It's just the density of
But
the
yet
mass.
again, we're
Density
making
and
an
buoyancy
Hang on.
require
That didn't
downward
answer the,
acceleration force to
that
function.
didn't answer the question. The question is, how can
Well-
you distinguish density over gravity?
Because density is not a force in itself. So if you have 20, 30 different masses, 30 different objects, and they all have different densities, and you drop them all,
Well,
they're going to
the
fall at the
main
exact
thing
same
about
rate.
well, the thing about gravity is why do objects not only fall but seem to accelerate when they fall? This is why globe earthers point to a force that causes the acceleration toward Earth when they fall.
It's
That
just
seems to be the
density.
main crux of the argument.
It's just downward acceleration force. It's there. I've already discussed this in great detail, but the causal relation is not there.
It
There's
is,
no
it is
pulling.
an acceleration force. It's not a downward acceleration force.
Yeah, it is downward.
It isn't down.
Yeah,
That's
it
an
is
adjective.
downward.
We
No, yeah,
describe
the
it.
heavier go down, the lighter go up.
Yeah, but from our perspective, there is no such thing.
No,
as
from
down.
all
Yeah,
perspectives.
he's
No.
actually right. It is from our perspective because they're down in the theory of gravity is only the center of mass. There actually is no
But
down.
we can agree there's no pulling force.
No, you can call it a pulling force. You can call it a falling force, but it's just the force of gravity is exact. It's never
Yeah, but
failed when
we cannot
measuring
call it a pulling
planets and
force
stars.
because it hasn't been observed. A pulling force, I mean, it hasn't been observed, so it's
It's not
just a
pulling or
theory.
pushing. There, that would assume a causal relationship as to what causes it. There's only a direction downward.
No, there's no
Yeah,
direction.
there is.
No,
There
there
is. Riley,
isn't.
get over it. It's
No,
down.
there isn't.
Well,
When you're wrong.
Yeah, it is. You drop something, it goes down because
It
it's
doesn't go
heavy.
down.
The
It
air
displaces
surrounding
the
it.
air around it. That's all it does.
Put
And
that cookie down!
the same
Yep.
force has been measuring moons and planets for the past 300-400 years. So it's not only down, first of all, and second of all, it is precise. Um,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
has
we
nothing
found
to do with the heavenly bodies at all. There's no proof that they have any influence on, or even are involved in the downward acceleration force, or are even physical. So
they use the same force though.
yeah, of course, in your imagination they use the same force because you're already assuming that they are physical.
Well,
But you
no,
have no
but
proof for that. The only
their
proof we have
paths,
is that there's a downward acceleration force, of which the cause is unknown. Just got a
their
direction.
paths, and even the size of the moon itself, like it changes from
Yeah,
I
you
think
just got an
12%.
angular size. That's all you really have because you don't know an actual size or
Hey,
distance.
are you a
Further
fan
away.
of the string theory?
No, I'm not.
Okay, yeah, my son was going off yesterday with me. He's like, "Oh, DC Universe, they introduced the string theory. The multiverse is real now, or whatever, blah blah blah." And I was just in awe. I had the pale face, like, really, don't talk to me about that shit.
Yeah, they believe there's 11 different dimensions, but I think that it's that's a good example of a theory being it's being promoted, but it's got no tests done or anything like that. So it's probably
Yeah,
going to end up
yeah,
failing.
like the assumption of the heavenly bodies. Exactly.
Well, see, that's different though, because we actually see
No,
those.
it's not. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can see it. So that then you have proof of their physicality. That's good.
Yeah, we can prove the moon is a physical object.
No, you can't.
The moon is a
You
physical
can
object.
you can reflect radio waves of the moon.
Yeah,
There
that
you
doesn't
go.
actually work.
Uh,
That only works officially because there is supposedly a radio station refracting it back, but it already worked in tests before that radio station was officially installed. So it's a complete nonsensical fraud.
Well, even on a lunar eclipse, you can see not only the light being shine after the sun day
Visibility,
after
that's
day.
more visual effects. You don't know what it is.
Yeah, but you can't shine a light off of something unless it's a physical thing.
Oh, yeah, have
You
you
can't.
ever shined a light of the moon or
Ionosphere
anything in the
is
heavens?
solid.
It's got solid parts in it. No, it's not solid. It's got a mass in it, but it's
Right.
got
Yeah.
a.
So then, yeah, the moon it might be something with it too, because the signals have been bounced from the ionosphere long before the moon, receivers thing.
But see, I'm not talking about
All
radio
nonsense.
waves. I'm talking about visual light. We can see visual
Right.
light coming from the moon.
Lasers. Yeah, yeah, that'll work just fantastic. Because if you're gonna shine a laser across a lake over several miles, it'll actually go apart, even like military grade, very fine laser. So yeah, you can just shine any laser
Check.
millions of miles towards the moon. It'll just give the perfect signal back. It makes so much sense.
Like, Anthony, is it true? Because the Snell law then applies here, because then the light will be changing mediums, atmospheric mediums. When it leaves the atmosphere, then it will go somewhere else, right?
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Mark Doxy, NL Gamer, who I think is Apollo, Merle, Joe, Jose, Goldemo, Arev, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
Puerto Rico.
Glad to be here.
Good afternoon. I don't think your
Hey.
birds are. I think your birds are beheaded, Aurave.
Yeah,
Oh,
my
they're
poor
lemon.
my poor friend had a little accident there.
Okay.
Ray, can I just ask how many times you've tried joining in the last 6 months? Because we've had an active troll account in your name that joins all the time, and we have to kick it because he snipes people out. How many times have you tried joining?
Oh, sweet Lord. I tried like 5 times, but the last time I've been on myself has been probably like, I want to say a month or two.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm here. I'm here.
Beep, beep.
It's just that we've had that many times with one person trying to snipe everybody in your name that we just have to be really cautious with your name. So if you do join, make sure you speak up straight away.
Oh, sweet Jesus. We might need like a code word or something.
No,
just gravity.
as soon as you join, just start talking, saying hello. That
We know your voice.
Yeah.
Or email me with your Skype address. That would be handy.
Yeah, because when I join, it'll be muted and I won't hear anybody, and it seems like nobody can hear me when I try to join.
Yeah,
That's
but
crazy.
if you give Nathan your email address, he can then send you out on the Skype the link so that you can join at the beginning of the show, and that way we know it's not hostile.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, y'all done a real good job of kicking out the trolls. I commend you guys greatly.
Yeah, it's because we don't have an echo chamber.
It's because they've come in, they've had the little bottom spanked, and they've had to go running home, and now they sit in a corner on Discord, twiddling the thumbs, thinking about what they're going to do.
Trolls corner.
We're now trained counter snipers, so it's like a shooting range out there sometimes.
Yeah, it's just like what is
just waiting for the next.
I mean, what's going on between that and P Mars's demonic trolling and and stuff like that? I'm like, dude, don't do that. As a young guy trying to get your career off the ground, don't do that sort of stuff. You don't want to be that dude known for that on the internet. Do that to yourself.
He does. Apparently, he gave up all semblance of civilized behavior and just went straight into the shithole.
Yeah,
well, let's pray for him.
I would like to hear if Giordano has any scientific scientific evidence of anything that supports the spinning bollard.
Well, just before.
Well, it seems like most of it is just.
Wait, can we have a mic check from Merle Baugard? Because I know what his voice sounds like, and he hasn't spoke yet.
Hello.
Are you there?
I am.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't sneaking in on a troll account and really going to snipe everybody out.
Yeah. No. Cheers.
Right, about that evidence for curvature, was it that the question was before I hijacked it?
Evidence for anything that supports the spinning bollard.
Curve, all that. Yeah, pretty confident about it.
Tumbleweed.
Yeah, there was actually a kid who did an experiment. He was traveling because I know I was planning to do it with a few people. I just haven't traveled enough. But if you have like a precise scale, you can travel, from different latitudes, and you'll notice that the weight will change.
Oh yeah, I heard that rumor. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I think the conclusion is you can buy gold in one place and sell it in another for more money.
Yeah.
There's been rumors of that. There's been very old rumors of that being a thing. Still doesn't really prove the cause of gravity. Just proves there seems to be, or there could be, a fluctuation in the downward acceleration force in accordance to the location of the Earth, perhaps having to do with longitude or something else. It's very interesting if that really is a thing.
No, yeah, it is, and that's why the way the tests are done is the way I was doing it, at least. You go from different latitudes and you make sure that it correlates precisely with as you raise latitudes going north, you're going to notice that the weight also increases to an exact proportion. So,
and has this been repeated anywhere else in the world other than where he's just locally done it?
No. I can't find the experiment where because there was a kid who did it for school, and there's people who did it, and they went all the way from the equator to the North Pole.
Really?
Yeah, and so that's where you'll notice a 3.0.
They didn't go the South Pole in it. They had a 50-50 choice to which way they could go, and they went north.
Of course they went.
Yeah.
So what? It doesn't prove anything. What do you think this proves?
Well, no, it's just evidence towards it, and you collect the rest of the evidence, and you really find the same thing.
It proves that if it is real, then it proves there is a fluctuation in weight for some reason. Very interesting phenomenon.
Rave, shut up.
But you'd have to actually have some, if you want to take it very seriously, then you have to have a much more controlled conditions. You have to equalize pressure, that kind of thing. You'd have to have control rooms with perfectly equal pressure and at all these locations, and then do that thing in that controlled room to make sure that there's not any other variables getting in the way causing this effect.
Yeah,
the temperature will be different, of course, in the northern region than
Yeah,
at the equator. And the density of the air may be different also because of the temperature and maybe the moist levels, all of that stuff.
As long as the weight was changing with the latitude, you could just you could just use that. But
Just use that for
no,
what?
not if you want it to be
Hold on,
really
Alwyn.
solid.
You didn't finish your sentence. Use that for what?
You would use the correlation between the changing of latitudes and the changing of weight, the weight increase.
That's just a correlation, though. Correlation is not causation. You establish cause and effect relationships by performing systematic experimentation after first establishing a hypothesis with a cause and effect relationship in that hypothesis, which you can then test. So I'm not really interested in this correlation. It proves nothing.
Right, but at the...
Not right, but just right. Thank you, Nathan, for pointing out that this proves nothing.
Well, no, it's evidence towards something.
No, it's not. It's a correlation. It's not evidence. Because the standard of evidence here is scientific evidence. So your correlation isn't evidence of anything. It's just an interesting folly. So stop saying that it's evidence. It's not scientific evidence.
Okay, so there's two different theories here. One is that the Earth is spinning. The other is that everything around the Earth is orbiting it.
No. Yeah, you can insert that these two theories, but I don't give a crap about either of them. So this false equivalency that you're about to start, I'm not interested in that either. What I am interested in you is you thanking me for pointing out that you have brought a proof of nothing with you, a correlation, and are now trying to extrapolate that out like it proves something. You haven't actually conceded that it proves nothing.
No, I started out by saying that, actually.
Well, you started out by taking us on a little road of I'm going to prove nothing to you and just waste a lot of your time. Why are you even here? Just to waste our time?
No, if you use all these different evidence, then you come to a conclusion.
Yes.
No. Scientific evidence establishes cause, not correlation. Cause. You understand, dickhead? How many times have I got to say this? Tell me thank you, Nathan, that I have pointed out that what I've presented here proves nothing other than my assumptions based on a correlation, which essentially is useless to anybody with a brain.
There's loads of things.
Don't try the burden of proof reversal with Nathan. It's not going to work.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He won't let me use this evidence, but...
It's not scientific evidence, is it? It's a correlation with an extrapolation. That's not evidence. That's you, a retard, making assumptions. Yeah? If you want to establish a cause of something, there's a method for doing that. It's called the scientific method. It establishes cause and effect, not correlation and effect, you idiot.
So if you map and model the...
No, not model. Models are pseudoscience. We're talking about science. Don't go to models. How many times? Scientific method, not pseudoscience models.
It's not pseudoscience.
Yes, models are pseudoscience. That is exactly what models are. They are not establishing cause and effect. They are pseudoscience.
Well, the thing is, with your models, maybe reading
the night sky, you'll say it needs to be a direct measurement.
Very interesting. You can use everything you like for your
And if I use the
presuppositional
weights,
systems.
You say it's not proof.
Yeah,
no, it's not
but
scientific.
The thing is, it's not direct proof, it's indirect. You need to form an experiment that hasn't written into it your own assumption.
What would you do to prove that the Earth was spinning? Let's say you were trying to prove the Earth is spinning. What evidence would you use?
Scientific
would you use
evidence.
The position of the thing?
Listen to the answer. Listen to the answer. Shut your mouth. Listen to the answer. You asked what evidence. I'm answering with scientific evidence. Repeat it back to me.
Scientific evidence, and that's what I'm trying.
Excellent. Now you've repeated it. Excellent. So none of this that you have presented about weight correlating with latitude is in any way, shape, or form scientific evidence. Do you understand?
It absolutely is.
The only thing that you could assert that it appears to be a phenomenon.
Yeah, you don't have any causation. You have no causation.
No, the causation is the centrifugal force.
Excellent. So it's scientific, and we've got centripetal force as the cause. So, a cause, the independent variable, needs to satisfy two criteria. Number one, it needs to be manipulatable by the researcher. Number two, it is your presumed cause. So please can you tell me how you will exactly manipulate that?
Yeah, they manipulate it by changing latitudes.
Sorry, you're
So at
not.
different
You're
latitudes.
moving your position, aren't you? That's all you're doing. Therefore, the variable in that instance would be location, would it not?
That's right.
Right, well, that's not varying your independent variable, you muppet. This is not science. How many times have I got to do this for you to then jump to, well, if we model it? Is that what you're going to do next?
This is a
If we model
scientific
it?
observation.
Yeah, observation would be step one. Observe a phenomena.
The whole thing is an observation.
Yeah, you're just making an assumption based on an observation. You're not doing anything scientific. You're not independently isolating anything. You're not establishing a hypothesis. You're not performing systematic experimentation. You're doing none of the above.
So, like I said, there's two schools of thought. One is that the Earth is spinning.
I don't care. You still haven't conceded. How many times do I have to interrupt you with you not conceding that you have proven nothing with your weight versus latitude nonsense? I will just keep interrupting you until I get a concession.
Yeah, the observation would be the Earth spinning and the stars and sun going around us.
When do you observe this? When do you observe this?
The hypothesis would be.
When do you observe this? When do you make this observation?
They test for this is
when
by
do
going
you
to different
observe
latitudes with
this?
different weights.
When do you observe this? We're on step one, the observation. When do you observe the Earth
Every
spinning?
single day.
When do you observe
every hour
this?
of every day.
When you wake up every day?
Every day, everything that you see in the sky. Every time you see it.
Sorry,
yeah.
that's not the Earth spinning. That's everything you see in the sky. You seem to be now talking about the sky. Yeah, I ask you about the Earth rotating. You're now telling me about the sky. What gives?
No, this is the observation.
So the observation of the sky. I'll ask you again because you're deaf. When do you observe the Earth rotating?
So the hypothesis would be that you.
No. Why is it now you decide to give me a hypothesis? When do you... We're on step one, not the hypothesis. Step one. When do you observe the Earth turning?
Every hour of every...
No, we've gone through this, you dumbass. That's the sky. When do you observe the Earth turning? How many times have I got to say the exact same thing to you, you muppet?
So if you didn't know if it was spinning or not, one way you could test it...
What do you mean, if we didn't know? When do you observe it actually spinning?
That would be all the time.
No, you've done this 3 times, right? The stars moving are not the Earth moving, are they?
Yeah, but like I said, the one way you would test this...
But I said, when do you observe the Earth turning? How many times have I got to ask you this?
Giordano answer is never. None of us in the panel have never observed the Earth as a whole. Never.
That's not the truth. And one way to try to observe it would be to test this weight at different latitudes.
That's horseshit. I can't believe this circle jerk asshole. Right? No, that is not what you observed. That is not scientific evidence of anything. I've just literally gone through this with you. You complete dumbass.
So you're saying that...
Yeah, this is why I insisted on a concession from you, which you didn't give me. So you didn't do this circle jerk asshole routine. Right? So we're back to this. Concede that what you presented in terms of latitude is in no way scientific. Therefore proves no cause and proves no effect.
Well, science is not meant to prove anything.
Don't tell me what science is. You will concede here. If it's the last thing that happens on this show, if it takes me the next hour, I will make you concede. Shut up.
What do you ask me to concede to?
Shut up and concede that what you have presented in terms of weight and latitude is not scientific evidence of anything. It proves no cause of anything.
It absolutely is. If you wanted to test if something was spinning around, you could test the centripetal force or centrifugal force. That would be a decent test.
An experiment is a hypothesis test. So when I ask for scientific experimentation, I am asking for a test of a hypothesis. You don't have a viable hypothesis. All you have is an interesting phenomena. You can't formulate that in and of itself into the hypothesis. That is why it is not scientifical. Do you understand, retard?
Yeah, it absolutely...
Good! So we have a concession at last. You don't have scientific evidence of this. Stop asserting it.
How would you test if something was spinning, Nathan?
Excellent question. I would apply a method called the scientific method. That's what I would do if I was trying to prove a cause of something.
And what would your test be?
I'm not trying to propose a test of sphere Earth using weights and latitudes because I, sir, am not a retard. You are doing this, and you have just conceded that this absolute waste of time you have took my audience on over the last 15 minutes was indeed just your retarded ramblings. So I am not formulating any tests. I am not expressing any hypothesis. You are incorrectly because you are a retard.
Right.
Yes, right. You are indeed a retard. You do not have any scientific evidence of anything whatsoever. You're a pretender clown.
All right, hold on. I appreciate everything and 100% of what Nathan has said. I'm just wondering if maybe someone else from the panel, if we want to try to force the hand on this issue, if someone else from the panel who can express this idea in their own terms, not to contradict or correct Nathan in any way, shape, or form, but if we have simply someone else coming on and discussing this with someone, they might be able to say it in a different way that opens a door that Nathan might not be able to open. That's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, anybody's welcome to take a different tact with this guy.
Hey.
Well, I say the Earth is not moving because that's the way I experience it, of stationary. Now, we have been presented with a model with a spinning Earth for over 2,000 years, and most of the people accept it. Now, this guy Giordano accept that model, and then he's telling us what can we do to prove the Earth spins? I cannot do anything because I don't believe the Earth spins. Now, if there are 2,000 years of understanding of this, it should be already many scientific evidence that give us to just present us the Earth spin. Now, if you cannot find that evidence, you have to present us with a scientific evidence the Earth spins. Very believable, starting with an observed phenomena. If we observe the sun and the sky and the moon, it doesn't prove anything. We just seeing things in the sky. In Earth, what can you prove the Earth spins?
Yeah, I used this nice guy. You guys don't let that happen. So if I told you guys that the sun moves 15 degrees every hour without fail,
Okay,
no
let
matter
me
where you
stop
are,
you. Let me stop you real quick, okay? His question to you was not, what do you observe in the sky? That's not what he said, okay? You need to pay attention and not answer a question you weren't asked. He said, on Earth,
Yeah.
what can you
Well,
demonstrate?
basically using the most direct measurement without going to indirect measurement indicators. The thing
well, do you
is,
guys know how
we're using a
a
lot of indirect
speedometer
measurement
works?
indicators, but nothing that really ties, directly to the Earth definitively. This lets, in your experiment, lets a bunch of other causes go in there that you just simply, discount. How do you know that your bias isn't in making you interpret the experiment in this way when there could be other causes? That's the thing. How do you know in your experimental design that it is directly attributable, one, to this gravity, force that is presupposed from another experiment, which may have presupposed something else, and two, that your experiment is reliable?
Yeah, so if you want to test something's speed, okay, like a car, for instance, you have to start from a point that's standing still, or a point
That
that's
you
moving,
use
and then
an
you have to put that speed into it.
So
So what are
how do
you
you
using to see if the Earth is spinning?
Yeah,
You
but
would-
then you
you
have
would-
something
Hold on, don't cut him
physical
off.
to
Look,
relate that
hold on.
speed.
Four of
Exactly.
you have asked him, so
and the
let
thing
him
is, the
answer.
sun moves
I haven't
15 degrees
approved. I
per
haven't approved.
hour. But you say the sun moves 15 degrees an hour, and that's an indirect measurement itself. 15 degrees an hour changes depending on the size of your circle and what band you are on
It
the
doesn't
circle.
change.
So that's a
That's
highly
the
dependent
thing about
measurement
it.
right there. That is not absolute enough, and not a one frame of reference. That has two frames of reference: the size of the supposed sphere that you're on and the band that you're on. So
You can use
that's problematic. 15 degrees per hour, that's a useless measurement unless you know what band you're on and whether or not you're on a sphere.
No, you
You
don't
could
have
be
to
on a
use
flat
you don't
Just
have
let
to
him
use the
answer.
sun. You can use any object other than the moon. Everything goes around the Earth at 15 degrees per hour, no matter where you are on the planet.
I
Okay.
know,
You know
but
what's wrong
but
with
not,
that?
this, and you're
not
supposing that
something you
what
can compare it to.
Hold on. I just heard him say everything goes around the Earth.
Yeah, that's a
and why would you
presupposition.
assume that the same thing's happening with our fixed and movable plane? That might be an assumption. We might be still while they're moving, and we're assuming that we're moving with them in error. You see the circular logic that's built into
No,
some of these.
that's what I'm trying to explain to you guys, but you won't let me finish.
Well, you did.
What
You
I'm trying
said
to tell you about
everything
this
goes
15
around the
degrees
Earth.
per
I
hour
heard you
everywhere on
say
the
it.
Earth, it's impossible if you imagine it as the Earth staying still and something else circling around
You don't have
everyone's
to
head at the
imagine
same time.
anything.
50.
Stop us asking to imagine our model, right? This is another straw man. Don't ask us to assume what our model does, right? You just tell us what your model does so we can rip that to shreds. If you want to assert that you observe the sun moving at 15 degrees an hour, and that means the Earth's turning, you need to actually say that.
Yeah, I found
I
this
want to
out when
hear
I was
your
trying to make a
analogy
flat
of the
Earth
car.
model. It
I want
became
to hear your
impossible.
analogy of the car, because in the car you can manipulate the speed of the car. You can start still and then take off with the car, and then you can brake, and you know the car is moving, or the floor is moving if it's spinning, big wheel.
Yeah,
Now I want to hear how you can manipulate the earth or the celestial bodies. I want to hear that.
Yeah, but with a car on the Earth, you have another physical object to compare the motion to, the Earth. Something you can touch, something you can measure up.
Yeah. Let's hear what he say with the car.
Just to get back for a moment on the heavenly bodies situation. Uh, Look, if you have a disco ball in your room and you shine a light on that disco ball, you see all these pretty reflected lights, like just almost like the heavenly bodies, just go around in circles. Is that proof that the Earth is spinning? No, it's lights. It's lights you're seeing. You're seeing optical phenomena, and they seem to be spinning. That's not proof of any motion on the Earth. It's just lights.
So yeah, so Jose asked, how is it you know that the Earth is turning and how do you manipulate it? You can manipulate the car, how do you manipulate the Earth?
Sorry, I
Good
had to deal with
question.
some real life stuff. Okay, so the issue is you're not manipulating, in your idea, you're not going to be manipulating the car. Same way if you were a police officer, you're not going to be able to manipulate a car speed, a civilian's car speed. You're going to have to be
Right.
measuring their speed.
Sure, well that's not establishing a cause and effect then, is it? That's just measuring something. So we are establishing cause and effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you
So that would be done using the scientific method as opposed to a tool of measuring.
no, so the way that you would
What do
measure
you mean no? Right? If you want to establish the cause of something, you apply the scientific method. You don't apply a radar gun.
yeah, but the radar gun.
Yeah, so we're not measuring, you're establishing cause. Not correlation, cause. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Good.
So the cause of what you
Don't tell me. Establish it with a hypothesis. Establish it with an observed phenomenon. Establish it with systematic experimentation. Don't damn well assert it to me, you idiot.
the observed phenomenon would be the objects in the sky are moving 15 degrees every hour
So,
in
okay,
different size circles and different size arcs, but always 15 degrees
what's
per
the
hour
cause?
every hour.
What's the cause of that effect?
The cause of the effect is the spin of the Earth, most.
Really? So, you tell me how you, as a researcher, will manipulate the spin of the Earth.
Yeah, you can't manipulate the spin of the Earth.
Oh, well, that screws that scientific hypothesis completely, doesn't it? Maybe we should just automatically assume that it spins, right, you idiot? How dumb are you? I ask you for scientific proof of something, and you just assert that the cause is the spin of the Earth. You are so stupid.
You asked me what was the cause of the 15 degrees per hour of
No, I asked you what your independent variable was. That's a cause when we're talking about things in a scientific context. The cause is your independent variable. The fact that you don't understand when I say cause, I mean independent variable, just establishes that you are stupid and don't understand what scientifical is.
No, we're just making measurements, Nathan.
No, we're not. We're establishing cause. You are just making measurements and then extrapolating those measurements out to establish causes that you assert. I'm asking for scientific evidence. That's how you actually assert what a cause is through systematic experimentation.
When I discovered this, I was trying to make a flat model. Okay,
I wasn't crap what you were doing. I'm not interested in your flat model. I'm only interested in your globehead belief in a spinning ball.
That's where the mistake is. Why you try to work a model? Model is pseudoscience. Just observe reality and test reality.
It's not pseudoscience.
Yes, science establishes cause and effect. A model does not.
Yes, a model is trying to make what you're seeing in real life. You're trying to make sense of it.
Really? Well, that's not establishing a cause and effect now, is it? So because of that, it's labelled pseudoscience. That's why models aren't science. We don't give a crap what your model says because you're trying to make sense of the world, but that doesn't establish a cause.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though.
No, it's not the thing. That's the problem. Not the thing, it's a problem. You assert that your model is reality. It isn't. It's pseudoscience, as you've just been told by Jose.
But it's not pseudoscience. It was.
Yes, I'll say it again for the retard on the panel. Science establishes cause and effect relationships through systematic experimentation with an independent and a dependent variable. That is known as the scientific method. What you are doing is creating a fantasy world and then telling people that it's real.
Science has the ability to predict future outcomes. If you were to make a model, it should be able to predict the outcomes in the future.
No. Science has a prediction, a special kind of prediction. It establishes a cause and effect. It is called a hypothesis. It is definitely not called a model. A model is used when you have a limitation on your hypothesis. A model is pseudoscience.
Model does not mean you have a limitation.
Yes, it does. Because if you didn't have a limitation, you wouldn't have a model. You'd just go out and establish the cause with an independent variable, something you don't have. Because as you've claimed, you can't manipulate the turn of the earth, you presuppose, now can you? You just have to assume it's there. Well, that assumption, that begging the question fallacy, is not worthy of science. Even though you assholes assert that the whole body of science is behind you, I assure you, your presupposition isn't deserving of any sort of scientific label because it's not science. You don't even have to imagine a globe. Shut up.
You can forget about
Shut
the globe.
up. Shut up. Your model of the world you think you live on is just your religion. It's a presupposition and is absolutely not backed by science. It is.
What would you do?
How many times are you going to interrupt me before I get to the end of this sentence? Shut your mouth.
Sun move overhead 15 degrees per hour.
Stop talking. It's pseudoscience. It does not establish cause and effect. It has no independent variable. It's a pseudoscience model.
That's not at all even what pseudoscience means.
Pseudoscience is not science. It claims to be science often by idiots, but like you, science is very specific. It has predictions, hypothesis, experimentation, independent and dependent variables. The methodology is known as the scientific method. That, sir, is science. Anything outside of that is pseudoscience. Okay?
No.
It's a
What do
little.
you mean no? How many times have I got to assert this? Science establishes cause and effect relationships. Models do not. They are pseudoscience.
Well, it's a little circular.
What Popper has said was is distinguishing between proper science and pseudoscience. One is one is between the two. I'm sorry. One difference is that there's
Oh, shut up. I'm sick of hearing your babbling. You're just irritating. You've not conceded anything like every single globehead who ever comes on the panel, and now you're just muttering and babbling about what science is. I've told you what science is. Science establishes cause and effect relationships.
And I don't think they know what it means.
Just talking over me. I'm telling you. I'm not asking you anything. Shut up. I'm telling you what science is. Anything that falls inside of this bracket when you can shut up long enough to listen. Anything that has systematic experimentation on a formulated hypothesis that establishes a cause and effect with an independent and dependent variable, basing your dependent variable on an observed phenomena, then you have science. If it falls outside of that, it is pseudoscience, including but not limited to models.
That's not correct.
Well, you can just assert it with a nuh-uh and then a load of stuttering, but nobody's going to disagree with me. You want to find me a cited source that just disagrees with me and agrees with your nuh-uh wave hand? No. Wrong.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at the differences right now.
Well, you're wrong. Well, I'm right. Well, if you want to find somebody that can establish that science is something other than the establishment of a hypothesis, to find out your presumed cause in a cause and effect relationship, to be extrapolated out in experimentation that you do systematically, if you can find somebody that disagrees with me, my friend, you go ahead.
Okay, Karl Popper. I just told you.
Karl
Popper is a scientific
say?
philosopher from the 20th century who made the distinction between pseudoscience and science. You can have hypothesis in pseudoscience.
I'm sure you can have science. You can have hypothesis in pseudoscience. However, it will not have an independent variable. You have a model.
Yeah, even the variables, independent variables, it doesn't matter with science.
It does matter. That's the scientific method. I've said it 5 times, and you've said some guy says that I can just remove that part of it. I don't need an independent variable, and that's not pseudoscience because I define it differently. Who cares? You need an independent variable. It's your presumed cause, something you can manipulate as a researcher. That is what establishes the cause in the cause and effect relationship, not your model, you dumbass.
Yeah, we're not doing experiments though, we're doing measurements.
Experiments are the expression of a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a very special type of prediction. It predicts a cause and effect. That would be science, sir.
Making predictions. We're making measurements.
Yeah, science has very special types of predictions. They're called hypotheses.
Well, it doesn't bode very well for your predictions and therefore your line of thinking if you build circular arguments like objects have mass because of gravity. Why does gravity exist? Because objects have mass into your thinking. It's very circular. And with circular arguments like that, you could argue anything without limits with a model that basically says whatever the heck you want it to say.
No, that's not the definition of gravity at all. And no one said that.
No one said anything about gravity. He was talking about models. What the bloody hell are you talking about? Are you literally stoned?
No, Lemon had said something about gravity, and I was just letting him know nobody brought that up. Nobody had made that definition. No one brought that here.
It seems kind of circular to say that objects have gravity because they have mass, or that gravity exists because objects have mass. And why does gravity? Why do objects have mass? Because of gravity. I mean, there's no non-circular definition in there. That is from a direct observation where you've put gravity in a bottle.
You're
described
misunderstanding the theory of gravity and mass.
Nature.
Things don't have mass because of gravity.
It seems like you just made assumptions.
No,
that's
things
all.
do not have mass because of gravity. That's not true. So that's where it's incorrect.
Go ahead, Sleeping Warrior.
Yeah.
How much does the Earth weigh?
I've seen something like 1 to like 10 to the 25 pounds, something like that. So
how did you measure that?
Do you know the exact weight?
Well, they got the size, and then they used the density, and I think the Cavendish experiment.
But how? Oh, yeah. So balls in his shed.
Yeah, science experiments. Yeah.
It's not science. That's another pseudoscience experiment. It's an affirming the consequent. Yeah, it assumes its outcome. It also is the prediction. So if you're going to assert that the Cavendish experiment is the observed phenomena, then again, we've ripped this a new one on 3 or 4 separate occasions. It's a massive shit show. It is in no way a scientific experiment, and we've done this with you on multiple occasions.
It certainly is an experiment.
It's not a scientific experiment. You can call it what you like, but it isn't science, son. You hearing me?
Well, good luck with all that.
No, your independent variable in your claimed science is mass, a concept. So, it's not science.
Yeah, and the independent variable also is the movement, or the movement of these objects.
So if movement of objects, so your presumed cause in your cause and effect relationship is the movement of the objects. There's your cause, son. Nothing to do with gravity, you complete retard. The independent variable's your presumed cause. So your presumed cause is the movement of objects. Wow.
Well, your independent your independent variable would also have to have enough independence for you to change it in the experiment without being variable from other causes. It needs to be totally controlled and accounted for in the experiment and not change without something else that you didn't account for, changing it in the experiment. Otherwise, the independent variable may be very dependent on something else that you haven't factored in the experiment. That's the only thing.
People do it way more precisely than even he did.
Sorry, it's not about precision. It's about following the scientific method. How many times do we have to go through this with you?
Well, you don't have to. You don't have to.
They use bowling balls.
So let me give you an example, Lewis. Right. So you've got a car coming towards you at great speed, and you measure it with a radar, and you've got great position. It's amazing how precise this tool is, and yet it doesn't establish a cause and effect of anything.
Yeah.
It's an amazing example. I heard it from this idiot on the panel. Amazing example of establishing how you don't actually measure cause and effect. You establish it through systematic experimentation by following the scientific method. It's amazing how many times you can say this to the same person and it won't sink in.
So we've talked about like 3 or 4 different ways to tell that the Earth was spinning, and you don't accept any of them. So that's
no, you haven't established it with systematic experimentation and the scientific method, something that you globeheads assert is on your side. The whole body of science, right?
Change different latitudes.
Whole body of science? Hello? You've got the whole body of science behind you on the globe, haven't you?
You don't need the whole body of science. That's not how science works.
Oh, really? I say you do need science because science establishes a cause and effect relationship with systematic experimentation. That's the standard that I want.
Yeah, and I gave you cause and effect, and I gave you hypothesis to come up with that, and I gave you experiments to isolate that as opposed to it not spinning. You didn't accept any of that.
Well, the experiment doesn't isolate anything. You just need an independent variable. You need to isolate that as the cause. That's what the scientific experiment actually does.
Yeah, if you have a weight that weighs 100 or 1,000 grams.
Oh, God. Here we go. Circle jerk back to the beginning. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, these are real experiments.
No, these aren't real experiments. Literally, you are going to circle jerk us back to the beginning. Oh, my God. An experiment, right, is the expression of a hypothesis. It establishes your cause and effect in the hypothesis. The presumed cause being the independent variable, right? You don't have any of this for anything you've asserted, and I've said it to you about 10 times. This is getting ludicrous.
Yeah, I gave you a hypothesis, independent variable, dependent variable, all that stuff for that for the weights changing experiment, and people have done this. So, like I said, your viewers can try this themselves if they have a precise scale and they do it carefully.
Yeah, it just won't be scientific and it won't actually prove anything, right? They can do it, but it doesn't prove anything.
No, but
it's can I say something?
Did you hear that? No, it doesn't prove anything, but they can do it and it's extremely precise.
Yeah, it's just a weird coincidence that everybody who does it notices that the weight increases as you change latitudes and raise them up.
That's an interesting phenomena. So, after you've got that phenomena, you just need to formulate a hypothesis with it. So, you've got an observed phenomena. What would be the presumed...
But you see, a different experimenter would say, I observe that different objects absorb different amounts of energy at different latitudes for some reason. A different person might not even introduce gravity, might introduce another cause. And there would be, that person would still have some cause because gravity, as far as I can tell, is not really definitive enough or really, a scientific, really soundly based enough based off of the experiments that I've seen to be more than anything than just, a beg the question assumption. So you could assume a totally different hypothesis with the same results.
I know it sounds ludicrous in these circles, but gravity is pretty well proven.
Oh, no, it's not. What an absolute crock of crap. So we've gone through Cavendish, we've established this on about 4 different shows, and asshats like this guy just come on and say it's pretty well proven. No, it isn't.
Yeah, it's proven down to...
Newtonian has been smashed to pieces. Cavendish is utter bollocks. Yeah. You've already asserted Cavendish on this show.
That disproves gravity, and I'll just show you a million things that prove it. Right. So,
show us one scientific experimentation that's been done.
Put another turd on that pile.
That's
Just
all
put
right.
it
We
on-
want
tear it on the
scientific
pile.
experimentation, so let's see it. What's your scientist's evidence for gravity?
Yeah, Newton started out. He started measuring all the different balls, the things he was measuring.
Sorry, do I need to give you the car example again when I talk about how measuring something isn't establishing a cause and effect relationship with scientific experimentation? Or are you going to now tell me about how he measured something? Yeah? What I want to know is the observed phenomena, then your hypothesis, then take me to the systematic experimentation.
Sure, I'll give you the one with I forget what the name of the experiment is, but it's like Shailene Mountain or something like that. And he takes a pendulum, he puts it next to a mountain, and he sees.
Sorry, you're on to explaining something that somebody has done with some apparatus. Listen up. First, tell me the observed phenomena. Then tell me the hypothesis. Then tell me the systematic experimentation that went forward to express the hypothesis. Independent variable and dependent variable. So
One would be the phenomena would be the Earth's gravity affecting mass, and the independent variable would be finding a mountain that you can get a pendulum and put it next to.
Sorry, that's not an independent variable, you absolute asshat. Getting a mountain that you can put a pendulum to, you think that's something that you can vary as a researcher? That's not even a formulated sentence. That's just stupidity.
I mean, how do you not understand what I'm saying?
How do I understand that finding a mountain and putting a pendulum next to it, that's not an independent variable? You don't understand that?
Yeah, the mountain is the independent variable.
If mountain. So, if mountain. Mountain is your cause, dumbass.
Yeah.
Okay, if mountain. So, apparently this dickhead has just proved gravity. If mountain. The mountain is the cause of gravity. Mountains are gravity people.
It changes the pull of the weight. I mean, you can look up this
Sorry,
experiment.
is it mountain or is it the if the pull of the weight? Which one is it?
Let's see. Mountain.
You're just mumbling. You don't seem to be answering me.
No, I'm looking up this thing so you can look at it yourself. I mean,
What, you don't know? You're telling me I can look at it? I don't need to look it up. I'm asking you, asshat. You're supposed to know.
I just explained it. I just gave you both the variables and the phenomena.
Both variables? You're supposed to have the independent variable tied down, and you didn't. Yeah? I had if the weight and if mountain.
No, the mountain is the independent variable.
If the weight, the mountain. That's, again, not even a formulated sentence.
What? How is
you
that
said, if the weight, the mountain. That was how you started that sentence. You can't even formulate a sentence correctly.
Are you not understanding that? The mountain.
Am I not understanding it? No, I'm not understanding you, asshat. You are a moron.
Okay, well, it's the mountain that is the independent variable.
If mountain. So the cause of your cause and effect relationship is mountain. You idiot.
No, the mountain's mass.
Oh, the mountain's mass. So the mountain and its concept. Yeah? Concept. The concept of mass is your cause. Yeah? You are literally retarded.
Right. Because...
Yeah, right. You are. You can't formulate any of this crap into the scientific method. How many times have you got to present it? It's just going round and round in circles, with you coming back over and over again with Cavendish, while we smash it to pieces. Quicker and quicker, more and more efficiently demolishing this horse shit.
Here, it's called Shailene. There we go.
Sorry, if mountain. Shailene proved if mountain, right?
What?
If mountain would be his independent variable, according to you.
No, the mountain, okay, and its density and its mass, it changes the pull of the pendulum. So they put a pendulum in there.
Oh, sorry, before we go any further, how did you get the mass of the mountain? That's a bit confusing. Did you stick a scale underneath it?
No.
How did you get the mass then?
Underneath it. They just used a pendulum.
Oh, he's using the pendulum to get the mass?
No. So basically, the Earth's gravity is pulling down the pendulum.
What was the pendulum made of?
The pendulum is part of the experiment. I don't know why we're talking about the pendulum at all. We're still on the independent variable. If mountain, what I've got so far, if weight mountain is the other one that I've got, and then if weight's attracting. So we've got a couple of different independent variables, and he's on to talking about the pendulum itself.
No, the mountain and its mass and its density would be the independent variable.
Yeah, but what was...
Oh, right. So we can vary a mountain. My bad. So the cause is mountain, which of course we can vary, according to this idiot. If mountain, that's our cause, and we're going to vary it with our mountain varier, right?
The entire hangout on this, come on.
Yeah, the mountain's mass is the independent variable.
How do you vary a mountain's mass?
You just take it to a different mountain.
Oh,
or
right. So
just
you're not
use it
using the
around no
same
mountain.
mountain and varying the mass of that. So it could be other things like the geographical location, its air pressure, all sorts of gravitational effects that you said that this plane had detected. So they wouldn't come into it either. So you've asserted at the beginning of this show when you joined that some planes asserting that England apparently has got a different gravitational pull. But this different mountain, that's not a different variable. It's just a different mountain that you've arbitrarily assigned a concept of mass to it and then extrapolated out with your different pendulums in different places. Wow, this is a very long and convoluted independent variable. Amazing how complex an independent variable can really get. I had no clue that an independent variable could be this long.
No, they measured the mountain itself beforehand and made a prediction on.
Oh, so our independent variable is a prediction of the mass that the pendulum's going to go on. I see. So we've got some assumptions in here. That sounds like bad news.
No, that's what a hypothesis usually, I mean, a smart person.
No, a hypothesis establishes your presumed cause. That presumed cause is the independent variable. You don't just insert a few assumptions in there. That's not how it works, you dickhead.
That's why
No, that's not why they do anything. That's why they have a formula. The scientific method. They establish what you presume is the cause in something that you can vary.
Yeah.
Nathan, apparently they put a mountain, they cut it off, and then they put it on a very big scale to weigh it.
It's amazing. You can weigh the entire planet, Arwin, with a couple of balls in a shed, according to these asshats. This is the kind of ludicrous notion that they put forward here, because they're complete and total idiots. They think you can weigh the Earth with a couple of balls in a shed. How idiotic are you? I mean, it is literally stupid, the kind of things that we have asserted on this show.
Measurements and altitudes.
Right. Well, you know what? I know a little bit about science, and I think that I'm pretty sure that weight is measured by scales.
Yeah, well, if you find the size of it
You
and you have the
can't
density of
measure
it.
the weight of something unless you put it on a scale and measure its weight.
So do you think that like the measurements of the planet, of the mountains, of all these things that no one knows them because they haven't put it on a scale? Or do you think that maybe people are more clever and they just take
Well,
the
that
size
has
of
the
it?
possibility of building circularity.
You're just going to assume its weight by measuring it
No,
in
you don't
another
have to
way,
take its
which
weight.
is
Okay,
impossible.
You take its volume and you multiply it by its density.
Can I ask a question? How are you going to know its density?
Because the volume and the content of all mountains are just perfectly regular. It's
Oh, you find
always
what it's made
exactly
out of,
the
and
same. There are no
you try to make precise
different
measurements.
types of density, rock types, metal veins, all of that. It's all perfectly.
Yeah, and
They've got
then
it
next
covered,
thing
man. They've got all that covered, Arwin. They know how to control all those variables.
Right.
Yeah, if I have two pillows and I fill one with feathers and I fill one with bricks, but they look the same, right? How are you going to know which is the heavy one and which is the light one?
Well, see, good scientists, they don't just assume anything.
You're just going to assume the mountain's weight, though. So you're going to start off by contradicting yourself about your assumptions and tell us what scientists don't do. So they don't go around assuming things, even though you assume everything, including an actual radius of Earth. You're going to assume absolutely everything right now. That's all you're going to do is assume things.
They're making sure they know what this mountain is. Like they researched different mountains and chose this one
I need 1 minute here. I need 1 minute here. So, Giordano, you mentioned Karl Popper earlier, and I'm looking at his Wikipedia. I want to read a short part on the Wikipedia page. And in his collection, on his book, The Growth of Scientific Knowledge, it says here, and I quote, "Science must begin with myths, and with his criticism of myths, neither with the collection of observation nor with the invention of experiments, but with the critical discussion of myths and the magical techniques and practices." And one more short right here. Popper makes it clear in The Logic of Scientific Discovery that the belief is that the resolution of conflict between hypothesis and observation can only be matter of the collective judgment of scientists in each individual case. And that's the guy you follow.
No.
That's the guy he cited. Oh my god. So basically this guy is bought into the philosophy and nothing else. Belief is good.
Yeah. Whenever Nathan
You can weigh
defines
mountains
pseudoscience earlier,
without weighing them. You can It's fantastic, man.
It's on to me.
Lovely.
Are you going to address
Well, how do you know?
Jose's just detailed what that pseudoscientist, redefiner of science, believer in belief, philosopher has actually got to say about his way and his method. Have you got nothing to actually address that? Literally, have you got nothing?
Yeah, like I said, if these guys were just meaning to satisfy you guys, they probably would have failed.
They're not satisfying anybody. They're satisfying beliefs. Didn't you listen to what he just said? That was your cited source.
Yeah, like I said, they would have failed you guys because you guys have.
With reading that, I satisfy myself
I
on
think
knowing,
Lewis is really
the philosopher you follow.
It's not real science.
Not real science. Science is the application of the scientific method. Anything outside of that is pseudoscience. I've said it about 10 times. What is wrong with what's your malfunction?
I'm as much Lewis as the world is flat. Okay.
You are whoever we say you are because you have no name. You are a faceless potato. I'll call you Fred if I chose to.
Call me what you like.
Yeah, I will. I've just said that. That's precisely what I'll do. I'll also point out your pseudoscience belief in a globe Earth. You're just a religious zealot. You've got beliefs.
I
and
don't
you're
have a
asserting them.
pseudoscience belief in a globe
Yeah, you
Earth.
have.
Like I said, I was trying to model a flat Earth, and it became impossible. And
yeah, don't tell me what's impossible. Actually prove what you think. Don't tell me that flat Earth's impossible and you've got a belief in sphere. I don't care.
I mean, it is impossible.
No, you can assert that the Earth is a sphere based only on belief. That's all you have got. A belief. Nothing more. You don't have any scientific evidence of anything ever.
I have measurements.
So what? We want to establish cause, not correlation, dickhead. How many times have I got to say the same things on this show to you?
They converge.
Oh wow, they coincide. They converge. Yeah? So what? I'm not interested in your pseudoscience extrapolations. I'm only interested in actual science. Something that your globe does not get backed by ever.
You don't need science at that point. It's a simple measurement. It's a simple reading of measurements.
Yeah, you know what? I have an alternative theory why you have failed at getting this flat Earth model right. That didn't work out for you. Maybe it's just because you're stupid. And you just don't understand science.
I have a theory. Wait. When the female unicorn releases her pheromones and the male unicorn meets her at the equator and they both head north, eventually they meet at the top.
That's true.
So and they get different weights, and from that, based on the latitude of the weights of the unicorns, it could have something to do with urine inside their bladders, but we're going to just ignore that bit and say that unicorns are real and that they prove gravity.
No, so you guys won't even listen to the longitude, the big problem with the flat Earth model?
No, we don't want to hear your problem with a pseudoscience model that you assert we adhere to. That's called a straw man.
You guys disagree with that?
Sorry, we disagree with pseudoscience models. They are useful for looking at things and explaining the unexplainable sometimes, but they do not prove things.
Yeah, at the equator,
Sorry,
the
you
lines
just got
between...
me after the point where you claim that you can measure the weight of something without weighing it. It's just
no, you can
after
get
that point, I really can't take anything seriously.
You can certainly get an estimate of the weight of a mountain.
Jumping to conclusions. You're jumping all over the place. There's no consistency
Estimates.
in your logic whatsoever.
Do you think that they have the weight of the moon, like they put it on a scale?
No, they don't have the weight of the moon, but you do in your world. You have the weight of the moon based on balls in a shed and Cavendish, you idiot.
These are real clever experiments, man.
It's not an experiment. An experiment is a hypothesis test. That's what an experiment is. Anything that falls outside of that is just pseudoscience garbage you assert.
No, it's not pseudoscience.
It is. It's a circus sideshow. That's all it is. All you've got is stuff that you assert is happening. You've got presupposition only. Yeah? You don't have any scientific evidence.
The lines of longitude are ideas. It's an idea.
No, they're not ideas.
Yes, they are. You're not going to find any lines drawn on the Earth, you absolute buffoon. You find me one of these lines. Show me where it's drawn on the Earth. Show me a line of latitude. It's a concept.
Yeah. Don't worry about the latitude. Worry about the longitude and worry about the equator.
Yeah, you find me a longitude or latitude line drawn down and tell me it's not a concept. Oh, here's the latitude line.
So-
Look, it's got the same as the map's got written on it. No.
So there's only one place in the world where it's noon, and the same.
Are we
same
just into scattergun shite now? He's just scattergunning us. Lost the argument, now he's on to the equinox. Yeah? Not going to concede a damn thing for the entire 2 hours he's been on the show. Literally not conceded a damn thing. Giving us reference to a guy who goes on and on and on about belief systems.
Why would I concede about the mountain experiment? That's a real experiment.
It's not an experiment. An experiment is a hypothesis test. Yeah? And predictions are hypothesis. Yeah? Special kind of prediction. So when you idiots use the word prediction, well, there's a scientific term. Hypothesis. It establishes the cause. Yeah? Your predicted cause being the independent variable. The thing you will vary in your experiment. So an experiment is something very specific. It's an expression of the hypothesis. And the expression of the hypothesis is essentially testing your prediction. Simple.
Yeah.
The playthrough has a question for you, DiGiorno.
Not next to a mountain, and it does nothing. And then they put it next to the mountain, and it does what they predicted it would do.
Oh, wow. Well, there's a Mystic Meg prediction in there, unfortunately, unlike the science prediction, which would be a hypothesis and would require an independent and dependent variable. What you have is Nostradamus predictions, Mystic Meg predictions, which are meaningless.
That's not, that's so silly to say that. Okay.
Yeah, it's not silly. Yeah, it's science, son. Try and pay attention. If you want to prove a cause of something, you go through the method of science. You don't go through the method of Mystic Meg.
How can you explain that?
Giordano, the flat Earth model is that the North Pole is the axis from which the longitudes spoke out from. So they broaden
exactly
out.
right.
They don't.
That's
They don't.
a flat Earth model. not
I
the-
know. I'm just playing along with his longitude model. What I'm saying is we will concede hypothetically that the longitude lines meet at the north, but they don't at the south. They continue
Yeah,
to spread
but
out.
that's the problem. Is that when you
No,
measure them, they do the exact same thing north of the equator as they do south of the equator. They converge at the exact same rate, which is cosine of the latitude times 69 miles. They
Right,
all
we're
That
do
gonna
may be
ask
false.
south of the equator.
That may be a
Right.
supposition from the model, not directly observed.
No, it is
Right.
directly observed in Australia, in South America, and in south of Africa.
So
If you
you
look
have
at any of the
literal
measurements in any of
lines.
those places.
So what?
Yeah. Okay. Listen.
You know
go
how
back-
they're derived? You know how they're derived?
Yeah, like I said, it's
From
noon
By
at the
the
same time. on
angular
each side of
relations
longitude.
with the globe of the heavens.
Right.
That
You
is the
can't fake-
only relation they
can't fake
have
lines
to the
of longitude.
position of the Earth, and it doesn't actually prove a
I have a
layout.
nig-
Bloody hell, P Mars. Why do you do it to yourself?
If
Do you reckon that's a recording,
Oh, no.
P Mars?
No, I think that's the real PMARS.
Yeah,
It
it
should be a
is.
recording because he's done it before,
No,
so
no,
someone could
no.
have just
No,
sniped it.
It's him.
Fair enough.
DiGiorno, I'm not happy with your performance today. You did very
Me
weak.
neither. So yeah, where have you got the equator from? Oh, well, you've got it from the globe of the heavens. In other words, you've got it from the path of the sun. And then you're going to compare back to it. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's just the biggest circle jerk of them all. When you start attributing concepts to places on Earth, and those concepts have come from the globe of the heavens, and then you go to the globe of the heavens to affirm the original measurement, which you used with the globe of the heavens. It's just a massive circle jerk.
Yeah.
The circular.
I mean, how do you know that it's not a hemispheric dome over a flat plane? This is some of the assumptions that you got to factor in with your flat or round theories, man.
South of the equator does the exact same thing north of the equator does. They
So
converge
what?
at the exact same
Gotta
rate.
have a
It's
model.
noon at the
This
exact
guy's a
same
complete
time.
idiot, and we're just never going to get any concessions out of him. We're never going to get any progress out of him. He's just going to keep circle jerking us back to the beginning in every single instance, every single time. It's just getting tedious. But fortunately, it's the end of the show, so I will say with that, a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, well, I'm sure you know what to do. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Pretty much affirmed his beliefs.
Well, no, I told you I came to this a couple months ago with an open mind, trying to prove to myself
Very
one way or the
open.
other.
Yeah, you're so open. You
No, I mean, trust me.
allowed ridiculous assumptions to
I
become
can't cope with
part
things
of
that are
your
not
foundational beliefs. It's amazing. You're
Like
really
I said, when I tried to make a model, and then you
you're
run into
so
that problem.
open. It went
Giordano.
into the psychosis level. It's amazing.
Do y'all remember that
Giordano.
Australian thing when they said Australia was fake or something, and then
The
you had
Giordano.
PSYOP? I
The hell
think
is
the reason
they?
that came up was
So here we
because
go.
Australia
Strawman
is the
time.
biggest problem.
Time for a new straw man. They say it, do they? Who are they?
Yeah,
Well, the
you
people
know
who
who
made
did
it up.
that? You know who did that? Somebody
Yeah, but-
that wanted to make fun of flat Earth and make us
Yeah, I'm
look
sure that's what I'm
ridiculous.
saying.
Because
I know
no
that. I
serious
bet you guys
flat
don't-
earther believes that.
I know that. That's what I'm
Not
saying.
a
I know
single
that.
one.
I
Yeah,
know that
so
you
it
guys don't
was a
believe that.
controlled opposition ridiculing operation.
Right, so check out John Le Bon, and then you know that Australia is real, and most of us know who John Le Bon is. So just check out John Le Bon if you want to know if Australia is real.
But with Australia, it makes no sense. You can't have flat Earth. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
The line.
How? What a crock of crap. What an absolute crock of crap. Why do you keep asserting this kind of garbage?
Okay, take 30 degrees south in Australia.
Oh my god.
Take 15.
Oh
What is it?
my God.
115? Yeah,
This
115
is
west.
so tedious.
And go to
I am so
116
sick
west
of
and tell me the
listening to
distance.
you. You are so boring.
He gone.
Thanks, guys. Good show today.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Always good job, man.
This guy,
Always a pleasure.
I just,
You're losing it, Nathan.
he actually said that they weighed the mountain. Like, really?